With that, what's on your mind, people? Yes.
Bill Bratton said yesterday that he'd like more police officers. You know, what do you think about this? Why the change?
I think Commissioner Bratton was expressing the same kind of view that every commissioner expresses, you know, that he ideally wants more personnel. We're certainly going to have a full process around the city budget. You know, when he finishes his review, which is still in progress, we've talked about it for a long time, there'll be a very formal proposal that comes out of the NYPD into our budget process. We'll evaluate that, we'll make a final decision, and that'll be reflected in the preliminary budget. But I think he was expressing an aspiration. That's a very different thing from what we will decide.
Did you know he was going to?
He has said many times, you know, internally as he's proceeded with the review that he assumes he's going to be asking for more resources, but we haven't again gotten to a formal decision. That's him projecting the kind of range he thinks he'll be asking for, but that's not the same thing as what the budget process will yield. It might yield that, it might yield something different. That's why we have a budget process. But I've been to a lot of city council budget hearings in my day, and when I was a council member, and commissioners often express their ideals and their wish list. That's normal. But we have a very formal budget process that it has to be submitted to before it becomes something that's proposed by the administration.
Just following up on that, I mean, as you know, the council is also planning for a fast officer to be hired. Is it looking lonely to be in this spot where now you have the police commissioner wanting for it as well? And
No.
you seem to be the only one saying no?
My job is to figure out what's in the best interest of the city and come up with a budget that reflects all of our needs and is fiscally prudent. Again, not surprising to me when elected officials want a number of things, not surprising when a head of any city agency wants more resources or more personnel. These are kind of traditional realities. A mayor's job is to make sense of all of that and come up with a final proposal and submit it to the council. We'll do that in the spring. So no, it's pretty par for the course, actually.
Have you seen, on this topic again, have you seen Commissioner Bratton's analysis that he's been speaking about, that he's been going through over the last 8 months? Has he been showing you the figures that he was kind of bringing up yesterday at the council that are telling him that, okay, I didn't know before when we had just 1,000 cop offer, but now I have something based on analysis?
Well, I think it's a work in progress. We talk constantly about the review he's doing and about his assumptions. But no, the review is not complete. We've not received a formal recommendation from the NYPD. So it's a work in progress. When we get it, we'll fully evaluate it. But he and I talk all the time about the kind of moves that we need to make. Obviously, look, we made a series of moves going into the summer, the 200 cops that we picked up from civilianization, the additional overtime that we applied, the focus on the youth centers at NYCHA, putting additional policing on there, the focus on some of the most troubled precincts, the focus on the 15 most troubled housing developments. So we're constantly making moves. In terms of the bigger picture and where we want to go with the overall size of the force, again, he's offered ideas and thoughts, but the real process begins when he submits his formal evaluation, his formal proposal.
You probably know based on your endorsements. Can you and the First Lady just tell us who you voted for today?
Andrew Cuomo and Kathy Hochul.
Same.
Yeah.
One, two more, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about pre-K and the 36 sites were delayed. Why is it that you haven't named those sites? Why is it that you think the public has a right to know since they are named?
Well, first of all, the update as of yesterday is 14 sites have now opened. From that list of delays, we expect more to open tomorrow, Wednesday. We expect additional sites to open on Friday. So we will get you an update on the ones that have opened. We've tried throughout this process to communicate constantly with parents, and we'll certainly get you an update on where we stand. I don't honestly know which specific information has been given out where. We'll follow up, but we'll certainly get a list of where we stand on the sites. Go ahead.
Can you comment on a newspaper report that accuses you and the Cuomo administration of trying to intimidate Democrats to not support Cuomo's opponents?
That's outrageous. There's just no truth in it at all. I've endorsed the governor wholeheartedly. I've endorsed Kathy Hochul wholeheartedly. That's the extent of it. So that was purely fabricated. And I think, look, just a word to the wise, when you see unsourced material. When you see, allegations of something that no one will put their name to, oftentimes it's just not true. If you ever want to ask me, it's really easy to ask me. But I'm getting a little sick of, someone said that someone did something with no attribution, because it usually is not true.
Mayor, the commissioners apparently are talking about a more difficult entry test for correctional officers because there are assertions that a lot of them are portly at this point. Apparently
Did you say portly?
they need to, well,
I have not heard that word in a while. Rich Lamb, Word Choice Award of the Day. Portly. Please continue.
your opinion on the fact, do you think that they do need a more fitter number of
I don't know specifically the dynamics of sort of fitness among the rank and file of our corrections force. I think the general approach, though, that Commissioner Pont is taking is, to improve in every way what we do in corrections. We're going to, I think, improve our training process. I think we're going to make very clear how important it is to get the best corrections officers and give a lot of respect to that job, which hasn't always been the case in the past. So I think a series of actions will be taken to improve the department, but I can't speak specifically to that one. Please, go ahead.
one more about you voted here today. Do you plan to change your registration to the Upper East Side instead of what do you have? Is there any legal?
What's your first question?
Just you voted here today, and so
Do I?
your registration.
No. No, I'm voting here. We're voting here. This is our home. We're going to keep voting here. We're voting here. You only come from one place. We feel great. I mean, this is our neighborhood. It's always been our neighborhood. Well, 22 years. It's a long time. The house that we have just moved out of was the house each of us lived in the longest in our entire lives. This is our neighborhood. This is our borough, and we'll be back here constantly, and we're certainly going to keep voting here until the day that we return to the house, and then we will keep voting here.
Mr. Mayor, since taking office, you and the police commissioner have always publicly been on the same page. Are you disappointed that he came out publicly with this recommendation before you got there?
Again, this is such a common reality of a commissioner expressing their wish list. It never surprises me. But there's been a constant dialogue with the commissioner about the fact that when we get to a formal proposal, then that will be entered into our budget process and we'll make formal decisions. I have immense respect for Commissioner Bratton. I think he knows very well that I'm going to pass judgment on his budget requests and everyone else's according to my own values and what I think is right to do. And so, no, it's not a surprise that any commissioner would express their wish list.
Let's go, guys.
Well, we're going to enforce this policy very rigorously. There's going to be a retraining process that's going to make very clear that but for the most exceptional circumstances, meaning the life of the officer is in immediate danger. For example, one perpetrator and one officer in a death struggle. In that situation, if an officer were to use a chokehold to save their own life, that might be appropriate. But the everyday policing that happens in this city will not include chokeholds. That's departmental policy. It has been for decades. We will enforce that policy. There'll be consequences for anyone who violates that policy. The retraining is going to make that very, very clear, and I think that's sufficient.
How about the question about making it illegal?
As I said, I think the way we have it now, it's against department rules. The retraining is going to reiterate that. Anyone who violates department rules will suffer from consequences. And also, the CCRB, to their credit, is going to go back now and review any previous allegations to see what it tells us about other changes. But I think we have to be a little careful in terms of the legal front that there are some very exceptional situations where the life of the officer could truly be in danger, and that's where there has to be some flexibility. Sally, did you have something?
Well, let's go right here.
No, I thought I saw your hand. Jillian, I'm sorry.
For many New Yorkers, the Democratic primary is basically the only big race, right? The general election is not always contested. It was in some ways that way for you when you ran for mayor. Your campaign for the primary involved lots of forums, lots of outreach to voters. What do you think of the primary season so far this year, both for the gubernatorial race but also on the local?
Look, I think there are some years that obviously capture people's imagination. I think last year there was a lot of interest. It was a very hard-fought race, and I think the forums helped and the debates helped. I think that they're good for democracy. So in the end, I always prefer a year where there's a lot of engagement. I think at the same time we have a bigger problem. There's clearly been a decline in turnout over the last few years in every kind of election. And I think we have to make a series of changes in this state and bluntly in this nation. We see a lot of efforts around the country to suppress voting, sadly almost always coming from Republican and conservative forces. That has to end. In this state, we're actually not that advanced in terms of the kind of reforms we need. We need same-day registration, we need early voting. There's a series of things I'll certainly be working on to reform our electoral system to make it more accessible. So we have a bigger problem of engaging our citizens, and we've got a lot of reforms we're going to have to undertake to fix that. Thanks, everyone.